Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's first video. We're going to have a look at June for today's first video. So doing June month-ahead forecast at Gazobit. So we'll start by having a little sneak peek for May, see how the May forecast performed. Then we'll give you the June forecast, and at the end of the video we'll have a little sneak peek at July. Just saying that coming up later on today, we're going to have the weekend forecast, so you'll be able to find that video on the homepage, and also written version as well. So it's going to be quite a warm week coming up. I think there will be plenty of warm weather in the weekend forecast. Come back later on and see what you think to that. So we're going to begin reviewing what happened in May. So the Gazobit.com May forecast was for a warmer than average month, pretty much all parts of the country. We thought the anomaly might come out around 1 degree above average. And we also said that for southern areas, like we drive an average month, but thought it could be a little bit wetter than average in the north and the west. Generally, the models were painting quite a changeable picture for May. We sort of pulled back from that quite a bit, but perhaps not enough. So this is the latest update from Climate Averages page for May. This is how the mean temperatures for May stack up, set against the 81 to 2010 average. You see it was a warmer than average month widely across the country, with most places coming out between sort of 1 and 2 degrees above average quite widely. That's set against 81 to 2010, but if we set it against 61 to 1990, actually many parts of the country came out at or above 2 degrees above average, particularly the previous central swathe of the country, and also, interestingly, across many central and northern parts of Scotland. So whichever way you cut it, it was a very warm month indeed. What about precipitation? Well, it's also a substantially drier than average month across most parts of the country. Of course, a little bit of regional variation due to thunderstorms. So some parts of the West Midlands into North Wales coming out quite close to average, around 100% of average. That's where we had some big thunderstorms in the final days, I think. But generally, most parts of the country coming out drier than average, particularly so in these northern and eastern parts of the country, where we're down to kind of like 25% of average rainfall in some areas. So a very substantially drier than average month in the east, and pretty much all areas coming out with a much drier than average month. We didn't mention sunshine, but I thought I would show this in, throw this in, because it has been a very, very sunny May indeed. So all parts of the country coming out with above average sunshine, but some places through this central part of the country getting around 150% of their average sunshine. So very, very sunny across most parts of the country. I believe the UK Met Office said the sunniest May since records began, perhaps in 1929. So it certainly has been a very sunny, very dry, and very warm May indeed. A really classic month. And I'm not sure Gazobit.com was quite right. We did pick up on the warmer than average scene, but overall I think we expected to be a little bit more unsettled, particularly for the north and the west, than it eventually finished up as. So a really classic May that we just experienced. Hope you enjoyed it. So here we go with June then. This is a 700 millibar height anomaly from the CFS V2 for June 2018. It's placing an area of above average heights just to our northwest, with below average heights to our south, and the wind is therefore coming through rather like that. So more warm conditions would be expected with that. We bring the wind in from the east, and I reckon we would get another substantially warmer than average month if that indeed was our sort of pressure or height anomaly. This is how the temperature forecast is being shown, or is being shown by the CFS V2 for June, and most parts of Europe are coming out widely warmer than average, the UK and Ireland included in that. So really much of central northern Europe coming out again substantially warmer than average during June 2018. Certainly a very, very warm start to the summer, and dry as well. Much of northern Europe is under high pressure, so a lot of dry weather going on. The wet weather is down across central and southern parts of Europe. interestingly. So some parts of France down into Spain and Portugal on into Italy and through these Mediterranean regions, even down into North Africa down there. We see that precipitation is above average. So very unusual rainfall anomaly is being predicted by the CFS-V2 for a summer month. You would normally expect the driest weather to be across southern Europe and the wettest weather to be across northern Europe. So it's just a continuation, really, this, of the pattern that started to get established in April, continue through May, and if CFS is right, this goes on into June as well, with lots of dry and warm, very warm, possibly at times hot, given we're talking about June now, into summer, so possibly at times hot weather coming up for June with the CFS-V2. What about the Beijing Climate Center? These are 500 millibar height anomalies. They're broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us through the first 10 days of June. The 1st through to the 10th looks like this. Above average heights, more or less centered over the top of the UK and much of Northern Europe as well. So very dry and very warm in the coming 10 days. What about the middle 10 days of the month? This takes us from the 11th to the 20th, and it starts to turn a bit more unsettled. So the above average heights then begin to pull out to the west a little bit. We have to come over this side of the jug. We've got below average heights. A trough is in over Scandinavia. And so that does look quite a lot cooler and quite a lot more unsettled there through the middle 10 days of June. And then what about the final 10 days? Well, we're seeing improvement in the pattern, really. We start to push the trough back to Greenland. So we've got a classic westerly setup there. We've got high pressure or above average heights around the Azores, below average heights around Greenland and Iceland. That looks westerly. So that's bringing a return of the westerlies. But we do also have a large area of high pressure coming back over Scandinavia. So maybe a little bit of a battle going on there. And the upshot is probably that we're dragging up quite a lot of warm air, I would have thought, from the south and maybe from the southeast too. So after that more unsettled and changeable middle 10 days to June, actually model wants to take us back to something that looks a little bit more settled, warmer and drier in the final 10 days of the month. That's how the overall 500 millibar height anomaly for June 2018 looks, with the Beijing Climate Centre above average heights centred more or less over the top of the country. The actual centre is a little bit to our west-northwest, but more or less a high pressure is centred over the country, so we can expect at the very least a pretty warm and dry June. The temperature anomaly is coming out substantially above average for June. This is the anomaly from the 1st to the 30th. So yes, warmer than average temperatures being predicted there for the UK. Most of Central and Northern Europe coming out warmer than average too. As far as precipitation is concerned, so most parts of the country are on the drier than average side. Perhaps not quite as dry as it has been during May, but nevertheless still coming out drier and warmer than average. The two models are broadly in agreement. So I think that has to be our forecast. It does tie in with the GasLab summer forecast as well, so I see no reason to deviate from that. We was always expecting a warm start to this summer throughout all of our analogs updates that we did for the summer of 2018. June was always the one that was shaping up to be the strongest sort of signal for high pressure. I see no reason to deviate from that. So I think we're going to have to go for a significantly warmer than average month. Temperature anomalies might come in around 2 degrees above average. If that happens, it will be a very warm June. Indeed, that might be a little bit too high, so let's say 1 to 2 degrees above average and see how we come out. But it is certainly, I think, going to be a significantly warmer than average month. Also expecting a drier than average June as well, with above average sunshine too. I think there is an unsettled interlude that's in there, and it's most likely to be around the middle part of the month. But overall, I think we will have a really quite a good June indeed, and summer 2018 gets off to a flying start. Now, whether that continues through July and August, that is the big question. And let's have a look at the CFS V2 700 millibar height anomaly for July before we go. And this is in. It still looks pretty good. Look at that. Above average heights are centred pretty much over the top of the UK. But below average heights with the rain bearing westerlies and the jet stream are pushed off up there. So that's another cracking summer month, potentially around the corner in July, if the CFS V2 is correct. Now, I think we worry about that when we get to it, because we have got enough to be concerned about with June. But if that's correct, then well, it looks like certainly the first half of summer 2018 is shaping up to be a bit of a Bobby Dazzler. I'll say no more than that, because I don't want to put the curse onto things. So in the final analysis, coming back to June, we're expecting a lot of high pressure influences again this June. We're expecting a significantly warmer than average month, possibly by as much as 2 degrees, but certainly 1 to 2 degrees above average, with a lot of high pressure. The most unsettling interlude, I think, is likely around the middle phase of the month. But overall, summer 2018 is off to a flying start. Come back later on for the weekend forecast. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.